Okay, so let's start with the scale of the problem because it's bigger than most people realize. Gartner says 70% of ERP implementations fail to meet their objectives across industries. But if you're in manufacturing specifically, that number jumps to 73%. And the average cost overrun is 215% of the original budget. So when you think about that, you're budgeting $500,000 for an ERP project. Manufacturers are ending up spending $1.5 million to get that whole piece done. And so, to my mind, these aren't companies that went backwards. These are companies, that are spending 3 years and millions of dollars to end up worse off than they were before. So the question is why, and the answer is almost never kind of what you think it's going to be. It's almost never the software. The thing that nobody says out loud at the beginning of the project is that ERP software is fine. Odoo is fine. SAP is fine. JobBoss is fine. The software is not why these projects fail. Projects fail because of three very specific, kind of preventable and avoidable things, and I'm going to try to walk through all three of those. First up is a team problem. And I kind of want to be precise about what I mean here because this is not about where someone is from or what country they're in. This is more specific about the business model that's broken. The model works like this. A US-based salesperson gets in front of you, takes the requirements, and hands them off to a team that's never set foot on a manufacturing floor, right? And that team translates those requirements in a way that they understand, builds what they think you said, and by the time you see it, it's 3 months later and it's wrong. And fixing it at that point means filing tickets and get through what they're getting through and the time zones and waking up and all that. I was on a project in the 90s where the implementation team was 12 time zones away. And when something went wrong at 2 in the afternoon our time, we would fill out a ticket. They'd get to it overnight. We'd review it the next morning, and a conversation that should have taken 2 or 3 hours turned into a 4-day chain. That's less of a partner and more of a pen pal, right? The second story is kind of even better than that. I'll tell you at the expense of me. We were working with a company that made a pretty sophisticated replenishment module using expiration dates. iPads had just come out. This was the early days, and we wanted shop floor workers to enter inventory data into those. It was simple enough to kind of put together, except the people in the buildings had never watched a warehouse worker kind of work. And so we built this out to the specs. It was 3 steps to enter one piece of data on this expiration date. There were validation screens. It was technically kind of correct, but it was completely unusable. And so my line at the Times was, these guys on the shop floor, we define success as them showing up. And if you think they're going to navigate 3 screens to log an expiration date for a box of yogurt, you're crazy. So the pilot was with Whole Foods. It failed. Not because the replenishment model didn't work. It failed because nobody would touch the iPad. The through line in both of those stories is the same. The people building the system had never met your user. They'd never been on your floor. They'd never watched what happens when your shift starts. And so the question I'd ask in any implementation partner before you sign anything, how many of your consultants have worked in manufacturing? Not implemented ERP for manufacturers, but worked on a floor, a shop floor, with a bill of materials in their hand, kind of working through this. If they can't answer that question cleanly, I think you have your answer. I guess I put this together as a little humble brag because I think it kind of lays out what we do is a little different. We win with kind of people out there in the field. And by being there, we've got some direct engagement with your team. We've got 22 years in this business. This is basically all we really know how to do. We're in the same time zone or one time zone off, right? If you're in Central. And we do a lot of work in terms of the business analysis before we ever get into the project. Go live is the beginning, not the end. So we're there as we sort of hold your hand and walk through this. And the other partners that we're kind of seeing up in there, they're configuring like the last guy they saw in this. If they couldn't spell BOM if you gave them the B and the O, right? And they're just not they're generalists and know how to push the buttons on the software package, but they're not really built to scale to kind of do what manufacturing and distribution people need to do. The bottom line is, and this is kind of what I feel like, if you've got a partner that's sort of working through those issues online with you as you're sort of doing this, if you've got a partner who treats the go live as a handshake moment and wishes you the best of luck, that's not somebody that's really thinking about you. That's somebody that thinks about the next customer, right?